Hello, and welcome back to our channel. Today, we'll embark on a deep dive into the mind and belief systems of narcissists. We'll explore their complex thought patterns, how they perceive themselves, others, and the world around them. Narcissism is not a simple trait or a fleeting behavior. It's a fundamental aspect of how individuals who exhibit these traits live their lives. But what is it that narcissists truly believe about themselves? How do they interpret and manipulate the way others see them? Most importantly, what motivates the often destructive behaviors that impact not only the narcissists themselves, but everyone around them? To begin unraveling the psychology behind narcissism, it's critical to acknowledge that not all narcissists are the same. While they share a set of core traits, the way they manifest these traits can vary significantly. For instance, the grandiose narcissist is probably the most recognizable type. These individuals display boldness and aggression, often using intimidation and dominance to assert control. They're the ones you encounter who seem to overflow with self-confidence, arrogance, and a sense of superiority. To them, the world revolves around their desires, and they believe they deserve whatever they want simply because of who they are. However, there is another kind of narcissist that is more subtle yet equally destructive, the covert or vulnerable narcissist. Unlike their grandiose counterpart, covert narcissists often hide behind a facade of vulnerability. They don't confront others with aggression. Instead, they manipulate emotions by playing on guilt, shame, and pity. These individuals frequently present themselves as perpetual victims, constantly needing to be rescued. Their strategy is to draw people into their emotional chaos, creating a codependency where others feel obligated to save them from their endless emotional crises. More recently, a third category has emerged: the communal narcissist. This type seeks admiration and validation by engaging in public acts of kindness. On the surface, they appear altruistic and generous, but beneath this veneer lies a need to be adored and praised for their good deeds. Their self-worth is intrinsically linked to how others perceive their actions, making external validation essential for maintaining their fragile ego. They are not driven by a genuine desire to help, but by a hunger for adulation. Another lesser-known type is the closet narcissist. This individual may not exhibit the usual hallmarks of narcissism, such as overt self-admiration. Instead, they idolize someone else, often a parent or another influential figure, and derive their self-esteem from that person's achievements and status. This behavior resembles a cult-like devotion, where their identity and sense of worth are tied to the success of someone else. While their methods differ, at the core, all narcissists share one essential belief system. Their worldview revolves around a distorted sense of self, and their interactions with others reflect that distorted belief. The strategies that narcissists employ to maintain their inflated self-image may differ, but the core belief remains consistent. Narcissists view themselves through an exaggerated lens of superiority. It's important to note that narcissistic traits exist in all of us to some degree. We all have moments where we prioritize our needs over others or act out of self-interest. The difference with a narcissist, especially one exhibiting malignant narcissism, is the persistence and intensity of these traits. For them, selfishness and a lack of empathy are not occasional lapses in judgment, but the framework through which they live their lives. In many cases, narcissists lack emotional regulation. While most of us can reflect on our actions, understand the consequences, and modify our behavior, narcissists struggle with this. When confronted with uncomfortable emotions, they either lash out in anger or retreat into isolation, unable to cope with the feelings they are experiencing. This avoidance of emotional discomfort creates a destructive cycle, one where their behaviors not only harm those around them, but also further erode their ability to form meaningful relationships. So, what do narcissists truly believe about themselves? First and foremost, They have an unwavering belief that they are always right. This isn't just an opinion. They genuinely believe that they possess superior knowledge in all matters. Whether the subject is as complex as scientific theories or as mundane as everyday tasks, narcissists maintain that they know more than anyone else. This delusional certainty extends to every aspect of their lives. Imagine a scenario where you are an expert in a particular field, perhaps a surgeon with decades of experience. A narcissist will still try to convince you that they know more about your profession than you do, often using vague references like, "I heard that," or "I know someone who said," to create the illusion of knowledge. This drive to assert their superiority leads narcissists to undermine others' expertise and downplay their accomplishments. Their ultimate goal is to establish themselves as the alpha, the dominant figure in any situation, whether male or female. Anything that challenges their self-image is seen as a threat, and they will go to great lengths to eliminate that threat. If you succeed in something or present an idea that contradicts their worldview, they will immediately try to diminish your achievement or shut you down. This inability to accept being wrong extends to how they handle failure or misfortune. Rather than take responsibility, they deflect blame. For instance, if they were to get into an accident, they would insist that the road conditions or the weather were to blame. In an even more absurd example, if they wet the bed, they might blame the blanket or accuse their partner of not reminding them to use the bathroom. This tendency to avoid responsibility is pervasive, even in the face of irrefutable evidence. As we delve deeper, we'll see that narcissists live in a world constructed around their own distorted beliefs and perceptions, where admitting fault or weakness is unthinkable. For now, understand this key point. Narcissists build their lives on a foundation of self-delusion, and everything they do is designed to preserve the illusion of their superiority. There are several types of narcissists, each manifesting in their own ways. One common type is the grandiose narcissist, a person known for being highly assertive and dominant, using intimidation to achieve their goals. They exude confidence and tend to look down on others, believing they are superior in all aspects. Another variation is the covert or vulnerable narcissist. Unlike the grandiose type, this individual is not outwardly aggressive. Instead, they emotionally manipulate those around them by evoking guilt or sympathy. Often, they present themselves as victims who need rescuing, creating emotional dependency with those who support them. A newer type that has emerged is the communal narcissist. This narcissist seeks admiration and validation through public acts of kindness. They perform acts of charity, not out of genuine care, but to appear virtuous in the eyes of others. Their self-worth is intertwined with how others perceive these actions, fueling their desire for external validation. We have the closet narcissist, a type of narcissist who idolizes others instead of themselves. They may direct their adoration towards a parent or a close family member. Their self-esteem depends on the achievements and status of the person they idealize, almost as though they are living vicariously through them. Despite the differences between these narcissistic types, their core beliefs are remarkably similar. While their approaches vary, they share a common view of themselves and how they relate to the world around them. To some extent, it's important to acknowledge that we all possess narcissistic traits at times, such as selfishness or self-prioritization. However, the key difference lies in the frequency and intensity of these traits. In the case of malignant narcissism, these behaviors are persistent, ingrained, and harmful to both the narcissist and those around them. One of the hallmarks of narcissism is a lack of empathy and remorse. While most people are capable of self-reflection and learning from their mistakes, narcissists struggle to do so. When faced with uncomfortable emotions, they might react with anger or retreat inward rather than addressing the feelings at hand. This inability to process emotions in a healthy way perpetuates a cycle of destructive behavior that impacts not only themselves, but also those in their inner circle. So, what exactly does the narcissist believe about themselves and others? Or perhaps a better question is, what do they want you to believe? First and foremost, narcissists are convinced that they are always right. In their eyes, they possess superior knowledge, and this is not merely a personal opinion. They want you to believe it as well. Whether it's a complex topic or a simple task, they will claim mastery over it. They might even try to undermine your expertise, making you doubt your own knowledge or experience. To back up their claims, narcissists use a variety of tactics. They may cite vague sources, such as saying, "I heard that," or claim to have insider knowledge. These strategies create an illusion of authority, positioning themselves as the dominant figure in any conversation. When challenged, they feel threatened because it contradicts their self-image as infallible. Narcissists never admit fault, instead blaming others or external circumstances. For example, if they experience a failure, they will attribute it to factors beyond their control, rather than acknowledging their role in the situation. This deflection of responsibility leads to irrational and often combative behavior. One particularly revealing aspect of narcissism is the need to have the last word in arguments. Narcissists equate getting the final say with winning. In their minds, if they can silence the opposition, it validates their superiority. Of course, winning an argument in this way has nothing to do with being correct. But for the narcissist, it reinforces their self-image as always being in the right. Another central belief driving narcissists is their sense of uniqueness and entitlement. They believe they are special and deserving of admiration. Engaging with them on this belief can be difficult because their reasoning is often illogical and circular. They may also use confusing language or word salad, a tactic where they string together unrelated words and ideas to baffle those around them, making it nearly impossible to follow or challenge their thinking. At the core of their worldview is the notion that the world revolves around them. They see themselves as the central figure in any situation, with everyone else merely playing a supporting role. This inflated sense of importance distorts their perception of reality. In their minds, you exist to serve their needs, and without them, you are insignificant. Narcissists insist on having control over every decision. Even when they offer you a choice, they dictate the terms. This illusion of choice is just another method they use to maintain dominance. Essentially, they believe that only their preferences matter, and they should have the final say in everything. Moreover, narcissists expect you to believe their version of reality without question. If you challenge their view, they will label you as flawed. They believe that it is you who needs help, not them. This stems from their inability to handle criticism. Any form of critique is perceived as a personal attack, which they cannot tolerate. A further belief narcissists hold is that you must earn their respect. However, this respect is never truly attainable. No matter how much you do for them, it will never be enough. Narcissists set a double standard. While they demand respect, admiration, and unconditional love, they do not reciprocate. Instead, they project their behaviors onto you, accusing you of the very things they themselves are guilty of. Narcissists are often focused solely on the present moment, driven by immediate gratification. Their primary concern is, how can I win right now? This mindset leads to impulsive decisions and erratic behavior, as they rarely consider the long-term consequences of their actions. This short-sightedness also causes them to contradict themselves frequently. One minute they may say one thing, and the next the exact opposite, all without acknowledging the inconsistency. Their obsession with winning can even lead them to use past statements or actions against you. For instance, if you express dissatisfaction with the relationship, They may bring up moments from years ago, twisting your words to make you feel guilty or question your own memories. This manipulation keeps you confused and off balance, making it harder to stand your ground. Narcissists thrive on chaos and confusion. This is because disorder helps them maintain control over their victims. If they can keep you questioning yourself, second-guessing your decisions, and constantly defending your actions, you will be too exhausted to resist their manipulations. By creating an environment filled with uncertainty, narcissists ensure that they remain in a position of dominance. In relationships, narcissists often engage in a cycle of idealization, devaluation, and discarding. Initially, they put you on a pedestal, making you feel like the center of their world. This is the idealization phase, where they shower you with affection and praise, creating an intense emotional connection. However, this phase is short-lived. Soon they begin to pick apart your flaws and subtly criticize you. This marks the beginning of the devaluation phase, where their behavior shifts dramatically. During the devaluation phase, they may engage in gaslighting, a tactic used to make you question your reality. Narcissists will deny things they previously said or twist your words, leaving you confused about what actually happened. By doing this, they keep you disoriented, making it easier to manipulate and control you. You start to wonder if you're overreacting, and they may even convince you that you're the problem in the relationship. The devaluation continues until the narcissist becomes bored or finds a new source of admiration. At this point, they enter the discard phase. You may be abruptly cast aside, without explanation, as they move on to someone else who can supply the validation they crave. Often, the cycle repeats with a new victim, while the former partner is left emotionally devastated and confused. A narcissist's sense of superiority drives them to believe that their actions are justified, no matter how hurtful. They view relationships as transactional, where they extract whatever they need, whether it's admiration, resources, or status, without any real emotional investment. To them, people are not equals, but objects to be used and discarded as needed. In addition to controlling and devaluing their partners, narcissists also thrive on triangulation. This involves bringing a third person into the dynamic, often to provoke jealousy or create competition. They might compare you to someone else, insinuating that you're not living up to their expectations, or make you feel insecure by hinting at other potential romantic interests. By doing this, they create an atmosphere of insecurity, which gives them the upper hand. The goal of triangulation is to keep you off balance and desperate for their approval. When you compete for their attention, it reinforces their belief that they are in control. Narcissists feed off this dynamic because it boosts their ego and reinforces their sense of superiority. They manipulate emotions not just to maintain power over you, but also to ensure that their image remains intact in the eyes of others. Narcissists also rely heavily on projection as a defense mechanism. When confronted with their own flaws or mistakes, they deflect the blame onto others. If they are being dishonest, they will accuse you of lying. If they feel insecure, they will accuse you of jealousy. By projecting their own feelings onto you, they avoid taking responsibility for their actions and keep you on the defensive. This tactic is particularly effective because it shifts the focus away from their shortcomings and onto your supposed faults. Another method narcissists use to maintain control is stonewalling. This involves shutting down communication when they feel threatened or want to punish you. Rather than engaging in an open discussion, they will refuse to respond, ignore your concerns, or give you the silent treatment. Stonewalling is incredibly frustrating for the victim because it halts any attempt at resolution. It leaves you feeling isolated and powerless, unable to address the issue or move forward in the relationship. By cutting off communication, the narcissist ensures that they retain the upper hand. You are left feeling desperate for closure, while they remain in control of the situation. Stonewalling is a form of emotional manipulation that serves to keep you dependent on them for validation and approval. One of the most insidious beliefs held by narcissists is that empathy is a weakness. They see your capacity for compassion and understanding as something to exploit. When you express empathy towards them, they use it as an opportunity to manipulate you further. Narcissists will play the victim, drawing on your kindness to keep you hooked. They know that if they can elicit your sympathy, they can control you more easily. This is why narcissists often target empathetic individuals. They are drawn to people who are caring and willing to go the extra mile for others, knowing that these traits make their victims more susceptible to manipulation. In contrast, narcissists view their own lack of empathy as a strength, believing it makes them more rational and superior. They see themselves as more capable because they aren't bogged down by emotional connections or the need to care for others. As a result, narcissists will often accuse others of being too sensitive or overly emotional. They dismiss genuine feelings of hurt or sadness as irrational, reinforcing the idea that they are the only ones capable of seeing the situation clearly. This cold, detached view of the world allows them to justify their behavior and avoid taking responsibility for the pain they cause. Narcissists also believe that rules don't apply to them. They feel entitled to special treatment and often break rules or social norms without remorse. Whether it's lying, cheating, or cutting corners, they see themselves as above the law, both in relationships and in society at large. To them, the rules are there to control others, not themselves. This sense of entitlement often leads them to take extreme risks or behave recklessly, with little regard for the consequences. When confronted about their rule-breaking behavior, narcissists will either deny it or justify it by claiming they had no choice. They might say, "I had to do it," or "it wasn't a big deal," deflecting any responsibility. In their minds, their needs and desires come first, and anyone who gets in the way is simply an obstacle to be overcome. Perhaps one of the most harmful beliefs that narcissists hold is the idea that they are never wrong. This belief underpins all of their behavior, from manipulation and control to stonewalling and projection. To admit fault would be to shatter the carefully constructed facade of superiority that they rely on to navigate the world. Narcissists cannot tolerate the idea that they might be flawed or imperfect, and so they go to great lengths to protect their self-image. This is why apologies from narcissists are rare and insincere. If they do apologize, it's usually a tactic to regain control rather than a genuine expression of remorse. Narcissists believe that admitting they were wrong makes them vulnerable, and vulnerability is something they cannot afford. To them, being wrong is synonymous with being weak, and they will do anything to avoid it.